Welcome back, everyone. We are back with the second last match of our last day of this Paradigm Kings tournament. It's a critical one. This is going to decide who is the winner of the event. We have Craig Willenberg with the white pieces against Mohamed Henry Steele. And in the mini match, we saw earlier Henry picking up the first win against Craig, and now we see a situation where Craig is 1 point behind him, experiencing the first loss his first loss in the event, and he needs to win this game with the white pieces in order to equalize the score and go into a playoff for first. Henry, of course, only needing a draw to clinch the title. So this is for the tournament basically. Welcome to my co-commentator, international master David Gluckman. Welcome again, David.
Yeah, great to be back again, Calvin. It should be fun.
Good to have you on board again. David was with us yesterday as well for a couple of matches, guys. So he has just joined us at the right moment. It's fireworks we're gonna see right now. So like I said, second last match, and the last one just after this will be a decider for third and fourth, basically, with Watu and Barish fighting it out there for third position. So, right. Yeah, and if you look at the board right now, guys, that was a beautiful finish there. Daniel getting his first victory of the event. And look at this. Someone asked me in the chat box, is it possible for a king and dragon to mate the Lonesome King? And I said, yes, it is. It has to be possible. And here Daniel showed us that it is actually possible with the dragon alone. That's not possible in normal chess, guys. So this dragon bishop on f6 is putting the king in check. And the knight moves dragon to g8 and dragon to h7 is possible as well with it. So the king is completely boxed in its mate with one piece alone, the dragon bishops, displaying the full power of that beautiful piece. So right now, okay, we've adjusted the time. The time is 15 minutes with a 15-second increment, and we are going to ask our tournament organizer Lorenzo van der Kerk to produce a randomized position here for this final battle between these guys. Okay, there we have it. Something that I think I'm starting to get familiar with. Just to confirm, players, you haven't played this in this event yet.
I don't think so.
Okay, that's good. All right, great stuff. So I think I've seen this before in the previous time, maybe in the Four Queens as well, with it's a familiar setup now with the two dragon bishops next to the king, the queen on b1. But it's bound to be interesting. So good luck to the both of you. Yeah, you guys can mute yourselves, and Craig, you can make your move as soon as you are ready. Okay, David, this is bound to be a very interesting one. The previous game between these two, Henry started with e4, e5, and then f4 in Queen's Gambit style, and then pawn takes, and then queen takes. So he solved that issue of the queen pretty early in that game, with the queens being on the f file, and Henry gaining a lot of space with this advantage with the white pieces. Let's see if Craig can utilize this advantage of the white pieces. Of course, a different starting position, but still white usually has a bit more comfort.
Yeah. So the dragon bishops both on white squares, but not a problem over here in this chess, because they can change colors.
Yes, I think yeah, someone also asked in the previous session, does this PC30 Paradigm Chess 30 come from the original game that Lorenzo was hosting, the MRL Paradigm? Yes, it is basically an evolution from that. And I think the MRL Paradigm tournament, or the positions were limited to about, I'm not sure, Lorenzo is going to have to confirm, I think 18 positions or something like that, because
I think they were originally just 7, if I remember correctly.
It could be a lot less, because the rooks were fixed.
I think there were just 7 positions.
The king was fixed, and the knight on b1 was fixed, and the problem was you couldn't randomize it too much, because the bishops couldn't be on the same color.
There were 8, including the normal position, I think, so if I remember correctly. Maybe I remember wrong.
I don't have a clue actually. You could be
Now there are more,
more
because obviously
skilled.
the knight is not only on B1, I think, yeah.
Yes, but with this, the dragon bishops that can change color, it allows for a lot more positions, and therefore the
Oh,
name
yes, because you
Paradigm
have to
Chess
have
30.
color as well. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yes, so therefore there's 30 possible positions, starting positions.
Yeah.
So
No,
yeah,
look, I mean, I've played quite a few of these as have you over the years, and I think this is the nicest of all the formats,
it's quite
actually.
interesting. Yes,
It's the most interesting, the most dynamic. And I know, like, Lorenzo has been trying to, like, make sure there are very few draws.
yes,
But some of the rules before were problematic.
yeah.
Like if you stalemated, then you win. The person giving stalemate, which basically meant any endgame was winning.
It could be very
Like winning
problematic for the side that's slightly
yeah,
worse. So
slightly
yeah,
better. So I think this is much more interesting, actually.
very interesting indeed. Yes, and let's see, ACL chess 87 plus normal chess positions, uh, plus normal chess positions. Ah, so maybe that was
Yes,
it.
that was the eight, the
Yeah.
original eight. Yes, yes,
Aha.
yes.
Okay, so here we see this typical setup. I've mentioned this before, David. Craig now setting up c3 and f3, and he's trying to bolster the center next with e4. So we've seen this setup quite a lot. Henry already committed his knight to f6. So it's going to be interesting to see how he counters this idea. e4 doesn't seem to be stoppable right now.
Yes, sure. I'm curious about it because I would have thought it's just leaving a bit too many squares around your king ultimately for white as well. I mean, you do get the big center,
Yeah.
but you don't get that nice protection of your king wherever you go. So
Yeah,
there
it's
are pros and cons.
I guess it's give and take. Yeah, I think you were with when we looked at the Henry versus Watu game, where Henry also took a lot of space with his pawns,
Yeah.
and Watu was a bit cramped without any space in the center. But it's a fine line that you have to walk
Yeah.
with the dynamics.
But
You can
even in
have the
that
big
one, I
center.
think Henry was in trouble. What we missed the possibility. So,
Yeah, definitely. But
and I think the one I saw yesterday as well, where Daniel with the big center against Craig got into trouble
yes.
by overpressing as well.
So there might be some trend to it, but I believe that there's two sides to it, though. I think
Yes.
even if you have the big center, you could end up in trouble, but you should also play carefully. You could handle
Yes.
it
Yeah,
if you
look,
handle
obviously
it.
Craig's got a lot of experience. He must have figured out this is a good way to play.
Yeah, and
No
and
need to argue.
we saw it in the Four Queens tournament as well with the females. I think Khadija, Henry's wife, was using it in the last 2 or 3 games consistently with white c3 and
Okay.
f3, and with black c6 and f6 as well. So it's an interesting
Okay.
idea. It's just it's I would say just a line. As we develop theory in chess, this
Okay.
could possibly be a setup we can
Yes, yes, yes.
in
That's what you
future
see in
name as
chess,
well.
normal chess. If you look at
Yeah.
the evolution of ideas, those things happen. But actually, interesting you said, because Henry said most of his practice is done from the first time he was playing with his wife in preparation for the Four Queens tournament. So this
So
might be his own idea being played against him.
yeah, or he could be used to playing against the setup though, because I mean, if Khadija is using it, maybe he has some ideas of at least playing against it. But you're right, might be something he's already cooked up himself. So e4 is on the board. Henry played e6, and then Craig playing e4. So does Black just leave it? Does he take first? What to do? Does he go c5 perhaps?
Yeah, I don't know about c5, I must say again.
I think the check will be awkward, eh? Dragon b5 check.
Yeah. It'll be very
But
awkward. Well,
you do have dragon
you can go dragon.
c6 though.
You can go dragon c6.
Yeah.
But okay.
Just
I think maybe you just would develop, maybe start.
you see with this.
But you're right. He has to think about it, get his queen out as well. Yeah, that's another issue.
I'm just thinking about this expansion. Okay, Henry eventually does play c5, but I was thinking with this expansion, White will eventually play e5, and it's gonna look dangerous to short castle with all that space for White. Maybe dragon to d3 eventually, and dragon e3. So it looks a bit scary for black to short
Yeah.
castle, and you have to find counterplay somehow.
Yeah, but where else is he going to put his king? That's the normal story. I think with c5, it's already difficult to go queenside, maybe.
Yeah. So either
So
short
if
castle or you leave your king in the middle.
you leave your king in the middle, but
C5 does make it a bit airy though already.
yeah. Yeah, it's difficult to say, but for me, first principles, I'm not convinced c5 is the way to go necessarily. But okay, he has to think of how to get that queen out.
Yeah.
So I must say, I'm so far liking white here because he's going to get that more space and doesn't seem to have had to make any big concessions for it.
Yes, it seems like white is usually the one, especially with these strange positions. White is the one that really is more comfortable, and you can see it on the clock as well. Henry using a bit more time already, just trying to figure out things. We've seen a lot of opening disasters in the last two tournaments. So
I mean, maybe knight h6 even is not a good setup against
perhaps,
this. I mean, if you can't stop it anyway, why do you want to give an extra move away? I guess would be the
perhaps,
question. But obviously, what white must not do over here is go what we've seen before is the bishop d3 or something like that, or dragon d3, because he'll be hit with, or dragon b5 maybe, because he'll be hit with dragon h4, and then have to compromise
yes. Yes, it's something we need to watch out for. Yes, well spotted over there. I almost forgot about that.
He can play dragon d3 because he'd be able to intercept on f2.
Yes.
But even then, he captures and the king's got to move.
Yeah, so maybe let's see how Craig handles it, because I think he implemented that idea against his opponent early on in the tournament. So let's see how he handles this.
But again, I think Craig won't want to swap off. If I were Craig, I would say he shouldn't try swap off dragons.
Yes.
Because
I think he used that strategy against Watu on early on as well. When he was a pawn down, he just kept the dragon
all these
bishops.
games, because he's got the most experience in that.
Yeah.
So it's an advantage for him. So if he gives away that advantage, then it's back to normal chess, really.
Yeah.
So what does Craig do here, I guess, is the question.
It's a good question.
He probably just starts to move a knight out, like knight b3 or... But okay, then...
Maybe dragon e3. Okay, he eventually goes knight e2. Is he going to play knight to g3, perhaps?
Yeah.
Or dragon to e3 and short castle?
Yeah.
Craig seems to have found a natural looking continuation and setup.
Yes, so you can go dragon g3 and then maybe, knight g3 and then maybe dragon d3, something like that.
So are we going to see a closed game for this finale, basically? This is the decider of the event. Are we going to see a long maneuvering game? Are we going to see a blocked position, or is things still going to open up? Can you see black perhaps playing g6, David? Just to block that diagonal?
So.
Is f6 too weak or what?
Well, then your king must really not go to that side. So what I could think he might think of is maybe he can if he plays c4 and tries to block it there. So there are lots of options. Yeah, in fact, there are many options.
Knight e7 played. So Henry's starting to maneuver his knights first.
Yeah, that makes sense as well. He's got to develop them, so he may as well develop them and keep the flexibility.
Yeah. Knight c6 probably on the cards, putting more pressure on the pawn.
Yeah,
I don't know how.
He might go queenside. I think he might think maybe he's going to go to queenside.
That might be an idea. And Craig has immediately indicated that he's not going to just allow these type of ideas we had in mind. He plays b4. Looks a bit aggressive here.
It's a normal French idea.
Yes.
But now black could close it if he wants to. And especially with Henry, I mean, Henry only has to draw here, is that right? Not that he'll play for a draw. And I
Yeah.
don't think it's easy to play
It's
for
not
a
easy
draw.
to play for a draw either, yeah.
But, uh, you know, still there's some positions that are drawn. Okay, but
Okay, I mean,
okay,
if you can swap off the dragon bishops, then you can more easily try to navigate towards a draw. But with the dragon bishops on the board, it's very difficult. Henry playing c takes d4 pretty quick. Craig exiting the room briefly there. And the nice thing, guys, about this variant is there's no engines that you can go and use and so on. So the players are pretty relaxed about it. So that's the other beautiful thing about this new variant. Right now, nobody can use engines to assist or anything like that. So it's pure joy and entertainment. Knight to b6, and this is the drawback that Henry is trying to utilize immediately, David. It's the outpost on c4. So is this gonna come
true,
back?
because you won't easily exchange it with knights on c1 and e2, and you're definitely not going to want to give up a dragon. But maybe what you can do is give up a rook for it, possibly in some positions.
Yeah.
I'm not so sure rook is much stronger than a knight in this case.
Especially in this closed-like position.
But even that will take a long time to do, and you can lock it with b5. But I'm still, I actually thought Henry might well be tempted to close that with c4 completely, but and have his king safe on the king side, the queen side. But
I'm not too excited about this b4. Maybe Craig will show more of his ideas. But I think that b4 definitely gave Henry a lot more clear ideas here. Of course, white can use the c5 square, but b6 in the long run is possible. So maybe a bit too early, I feel, for white. I thought that white could so easily just play dragon e3 and castle. And then decide.
Okay, you can also get the knight to c5, so there's possibilities for white here. I mean, that's also why I liked c4, because it really cramped that knight on c1 as well. But this is just, it's actually very much like a French in that way, is that it really comes down to style. There are just so many ways to play those positions. That's why like a French, I would say, is like, unlike a Sicilian, you don't need to know that much opening theory, because more about understanding
structures
ideas.
And the ideas. Yeah, and then David, I think, of course, you are well known for the French defense as well. I think you had a nice, is it a victory against Robert Guazia one time with the c4 locking the position? I think I was.
But that was an advanced French as well. Yes.
And I think you didn't play Queen b6 in that game, something like that.
Yeah, I played what Kenny Solomon played against me a few times, which is you put the structure of bishop d7, bishop c6, queen d7, and then the bishop comes to a4.
That was quite nice. I just have some flashback. I remember.
Yes, you're right. There was a Western Province Open at Weinberg School years ago. Good. You got a good memory then.
So yeah, I just remember. So now you're just saying c4, and then this French idea coming through. It just.
They're common. Well, these are all common ideas.
Yeah.
But okay. I did say at the start I liked where Craig did, but maybe it didn't seem anywhere easily forward with this big center. It wasn't easy to see a next idea. And now black.
Okay, he played dragon to g3, David, but isn't knight e3 a possibility? No, sorry, the dragon is loose. The dragon is loose on d1. He can go via d2.
You'll lose that knight. That's easy to do as well.
Yeah.
But he could go knight f5.
Knight f5, yes, knight f5. And then the e3 square becomes available.
These dragons probably got to go back to f2.
And then one would hesitate. One would hesitate to jump into e3 because we saw already a dragon sack for the two knights can sometimes be very effective. So, do you put the knight on f5 and then risk facing g4 later on, or do you play much more solid with the knight c6, just develop? Maybe those are the type of things that Henry is thinking about. Obviously, you'd like a rook on c8 as well. Do you play b6 and queen b7?
Another idea that I think might be an idea for Henry would be to go knight f5, bishop f2, and then dragon h4. Well, this is like playing the person, but the one thing is, I do believe swapping dragons will advantage Henry probably.
Yeah.
So he's probably going to have to play G3, and then
But G3,
wait,
dragon takes F3.
Dragon takes F3, so he can't do that even. So yeah, in fact, I think he will do that. Okay, he can exchange on H4, but the dragon's gone, and then he'll castle. G2's hit. He'll have to castle kingside. Then the knight goes back to F5. Then you are threatening to come in on
But
E3.
tell me something. Is it not maybe a better idea to play dragon to E7 here and then threaten
Yeah, that
dragon
is
to
another
H4?
way to do it.
So yeah, definitely some options here.
Yeah,
White,
you could do it that way as well.
White on the other hand, what would White look forward to doing if he had a couple of moves? Is he just castling? Does he want to play a move like G4? What is he going to do about the knight on C4? Knight B2, perhaps an idea? I guess you can just bolster the knight with B5 even. Possibly. No, but
Yeah.
knight B2 is not possible. Dragon takes B4 check.
B4. You might just have to play a simple move like A3 just to bolster it a little bit.
Yeah, but it just feels like in this game you don't want to use your precious time playing moves like A3. But
Yeah, or his other move is maybe a bishop A4 check, a dragon A4 check, then to come back and then the knight's got C5 permanently. Or, sorry, knight C5, if B6, then bishop, dragon A4 check.
Okay.
B5, dragon goes back and your knight's on a nice square on C5. That's probably the best.
That seems quite cool.
You don't have to make an extra move with A3, I guess.
Yeah, but Henry playing A5 here. Maybe he wants to keep an eye on A4. I don't know. It looks a bit loose to me. Henry, I think he must just be careful not to not get too confident. Craig is quite resilient with his dragon bishops. I was thinking about dragon to E7, keeping it solid. Dragon H4 and castling and keeping your options open. What about this idea of dragon A4 of yours now? What is he going to do against dragon A4 check?
Well, you would have to play B5, surely.
And then dragon back maybe to D1 again. And then we have this knight C5 as well possible.
Yeah, that's why I like knight C5 first, possibly. But
knight C5 immediately, yeah. Oh, yeah, you're right, with B6 and dragon A4.
Yeah, but with A5, knight takes on B4, then you can't ever go dragon A4 because the rook's protecting it. Even if you had to give up the rook for a dragon, you would do that.
Maybe this is Henry's idea, just to loosen up that grip on C5.
But I'm not. I still think maybe he did it one move or so early.
Too early.
Maybe it's usually safer to go dragon E7 and castles.
Yeah.
Okay, now you see. One reason why I wanted to go dragon H4 straight away is just to avoid this G4 idea. Although G4's got
some drawbacks.
Drawbacks as well.
But knight H4, and then the knight could always go back to G6, but immediately F3 is hanging. How do you protect F3?
Yes, you're probably going to just move your knight to G3 or something like that.
Knight to G3, yeah, perhaps. And I think that knight on H4 could still be very irritating. Sometimes a check on G2.
I actually don't like G4. I mean, I did say it's something you wanted to watch and not allow, but I mean, really, Craig's got no place on the whole board where he can put his king with safety.
Yeah, it looks very risky. Perhaps he's a bit edgy here, knowing that he has to win. Sometimes you want to rush things too much. Looks a bit risky here, what he's doing. Rosemoon says knight to F3. Yeah, the knight is threatening F3. Knight to B. Bungie says knight B5. D6 square. How does the knight get to B5? Knight C3 perhaps, and then knight B5. Perhaps that's the idea that Craig should use. But still, the knight on C4 is covering the D6 square. Yeah, it feels like Craig has been burning his bridges both sides.
David. I think so, too much. Because the problem he's going to face, if Henry can castle kingside, I mean, he's going to have a really secure king. Okay, he's got to watch maybe the B1 to H7 diagonal tricks. But things are quite far away from there. What we've seen before is if you have an airy king and your opponent has got a safe king, it's very dangerous with the dragons on the board.
Yeah. And it's interesting, this a5 move has also just given white something extra to think about here on top of everything. So
Yeah.
yeah, it definitely seems awkward what to do with the knight on e2. And he's
The
hinting
time
knight
advantage is
f4.
then not building up a reasonable, not anything massive, but it's a bit of a time advantage if I see correctly.
Yeah, about a 2-minute advantage.
Which
Craig
also
has
indicates maybe White has to be a bit cautious here.
Craig has played knight e2 to f4. Bungie was suggesting knight g3 with short castle and f4, f5. That also seems interesting to me. Maybe that was the way to go.
Yes, definitely a possibility.
Okay, white can
Also,
still
Bungie,
short
I've
castle.
seen making quite a few comments. I don't know who Bungie is, but
Bungie
they're
seems to know
studying
his thing.
Sorry?
Bungie knows a thing or two about
He
PC30.
knows a thing or two. I can
Yeah.
see it from his comments,
In
actually.
fact, in the previous match, he was giving some evaluations, 0.8 and +2 and stuff like that. So Bungie is
Sorry.
quite.
But you
Yeah.
can't have a computer doing that.
No.
Surely.
He's just that's his own evaluations. So,
Only value.
but yeah, maybe White can still just short castle here, David, and say that his king is safe enough. Maybe that's still possible. It looks ugly, but maybe it's not as ugly as it seems.
Yeah, maybe. Look, if you've got a dragon on h4, that's much more dangerous than a knight on
Yeah.
h4. Let's put it that way.
Yeah. So Henry just grabbed the pawn. He says, okay, he's got an extra pawn. Knight takes b4. Is it possible just to take back?
But it's also the other thing that, look, I think it might be possible to take back, but the other problem for, well, it may not be a problem just yet. Knight takes b4. I mean, you've got to worry about the rook coming to a3. Eh? That also hits you on that third rank, or sixth rank. But right now, knight takes b4, rook a3, then there could be knight c6 or something like that. I mean, you can't go knight c6 because dragon takes c6, sorry.
Yeah.
Thought there might be a pin on the queen.
That's a nice idea, rook a3.
Rook a3 is, wow, that actually will be an extra powerful piece in the attack. I would be worried about that.
Can't you go knight takes b4, rook a3, and then knight f to d3?
You could.
On the other hand, white could also just say, okay, you can keep the pawn and I'll just castle. That might be another way to go.
Yeah, maybe. But remember, if the rook's on a3 and the knight's moved from d3, then, am I right? I'm not missing a tactic. f3 is already threatened. Knight takes f3.
Yeah. Yeah, no, Bungie also says just leave the pawn, just castle, knight h5, f4,
I think
f5.
Bungie's right. I mean, pawns are not that important in
king safety. Start up your own counterplay, castle, knight h5, f4, f5. That's what he's suggesting.
Yeah, but it does help establish the pawn. What it does help is it means if you have a rook on a3, it's not
c3.
too loose. It will take a while to get to it. You'd have to first capture b4 and then threaten the rook.
Yeah.
That rook will be possibly annoying. And if you castle, you might also have to worry about the tactic knight d2. That's your worry.
Okay.
That's a serious tactic.
After everything, I'm missing the basic ones over here. So knight d2, hitting f3 and the queen. So yeah, maybe that's the point of not casting.
We don't even bother about the rook on f1. The rook on f1 is nothing. It's really the f3 structure.
Yes. So queen c2 finally played here by Craig. He invested a lot of time. He's on 3 minutes and 17 seconds. He had to keep an eye on that d2 square, it seems. And Henry's on 7 minutes 42 seconds. So he's got a considerable time advantage. He's got an extra pawn. Things are messy on the board right now. Craig in a must-win situation to equalize the score. Henry is on 4.5 out of 5 for the tournament. He has only dropped half a point. And Craig is on 3.5 out of 5. So must win for white. Henry only needing a draw. And Henry now throwing in a typical move here, like you said, pawn to b3. Hitting the queen, there's a pin on the a file. More problems for white here.
I'm trying to understand what happens after queen takes b3. What is the idea? He's going to go rook a3 with tempo.
Dragon a5 check. Picks up the queen.
Dragon a5. Oh my goodness. Oh, that's serious. Okay, no, this is big trouble then.
Sure.
I must say, Henry's come on a lot. You can see, like, I mean, if he said to him before this game, he's played like 40 games, including this tournament and the previous tournament and practice games against his wife. So I think he's probably learnt quite a lot. You can see he's a lot stronger than he was in that first tournament.
He found that b3 move quite quickly with this dragon tactic.
That is not an obvious move by any means.
Yeah.
I don't think it's completely obvious at all.
Yeah. And the more you play, the key is to get more attuned to this dragon tactics. Once you start naturally finding these things, then the game is going to open up more.
Because also what makes b3 difficult to spot is that it only became a possibility because white played queen c2.
Yes.
It wasn't really a possibility the previous move. So you would have had to adjust his thinking, and this isn't a quick time control. So it's actually quite an impressive move, actually.
Yeah, Henry definitely seems comfortable, and he's been impressive in this event. Only dropping off.
It still worries me for him, a little bit. Not too much. He has yet not developed on the king side. Maybe he's thinking it's just safer, keep my king in the center.
Yeah, because if you castle, then
absent the castle, if you ever start forming an attack against the center, then I'll run away at that point.
Yeah. Rosemoon says dragon a5, then dragon a1, king f1, knight d2. Oh, king f1, knight d2 check.
Yeah. Very strong.
Knight d2 check, and it's happening.
You're not going to miss that because the checks are the first thing you must look for.
King g1, now you take on f3.
Yeah. And two knights, we saw could fight well against the dragon in Watu.
It's happening.
Watu Henry yesterday, but not against the queen.
Yeah, and now Craig gave up his queen for the two knights just to get some safety for his king.
Okay, well, Craig's only chances now will rest with the dragons. That's what he's got to.
Yes.
I mean, if Henry can swap off dragons, then this is a routine win now. So
yeah, but you see, if only black didn't have that b7 pawn, because if white could have established a knight on c5, it could have still been some issues. But white doesn't even have these squares for his knight. So yeah, like you said, if the dragon bishops come off.
He had the option of knight c5 because if b6 he could have chucked in dragon a4 check.
Yeah, maybe that was an idea.
Opportunity. I'm not so sure how fantastic the knight on c5 is. It's nice, but it doesn't do anything direct.
But yeah, I just think that things just went downhill with the b4 move, maybe a bit too early from the white side. Giving black that c4 square just gave Henry too much comfort and easy play.
Well, on the other hand, I would say right now, I mean, since all that, white's king's in the safest position it has been for a long time.
So he's going to go king g2.
Possibilities of tactics with these dragons. I definitely wouldn't resign this.
Definitely not. King g2, maybe put the rook on c1, knight c5. It would have been nice to have an f pawn still left, but
I think maybe even knight h5 or something.
Yeah.
You never know what tactics can come there.
Or perhaps h4, h5 is now the way also. But Henry's going to keep the king there for as long as he can, I guess.
Yeah. I don't know if he has to go h4. I think because he can put the rook to f1 or c1 or... There are probably other ways to attack. He's somehow got to think of how does he get his dragons into the game.
Yeah. But okay.
I like knight h5 and dragon g5. If you can get that set up, you already got some counter threats. I mean, he's got to look for counter threats. So,
yes. But okay, it's Henry to play though.
Like, if he's not careful, Henry will do things like put his dragon to c4 and then he'll just play b2 and then he'll go rook takes a2.
And he just played dragon to c4. I was gonna say, it is Henry's turn. He needs to decide what to do with that b pawn, and he's just protected it. Put the dragon bishop on a nice square.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, he can go knight b2 threatening the dragon, but then you go rook takes a2. And by the
whoa,
time you take your
whoa,
rook takes
wasn't that just a blunder? A takes B. The rook on A1 is hanging. I think Craig forgot that the rook on H1 is not defending. Okay, and I think the game is done.
yeah. Okay.
So quick finish here, David. Let's just save this game. Can the players hear us?
Yeah.
Okay, Henry can hear us. Craig, can you hear us?
Yeah.
Okay, so tough game there, Craig. Well done, Henry. So yeah. Maybe first question to you, Craig. Where do you think, where did things go wrong? I told David that perhaps B4 was a bit too early, or what? Where do you think things didn't go?
Yeah, maybe
Right.
B4 too early. I don't think I had any coordination there.
Yeah, it seemed like you had a nice scent. It seemed like quite a nice spatial advantage, but maybe just developing first and castling and then B4 would have maybe been the right choice, because after that, Henry had a clear square to work with C4. Henry, what's your thoughts from that?
Yeah. I'm not sure. Somehow White's position got difficult very quickly. Sort of from my side, what I can say is I was happy when he played E5. I felt like just sort of that French structure. It gives me like an easy sort of an easy way to play. Then I drop back to D7. I can take on D4. Knight can try to go to. I can move my knight to try to go to F5 or to C6 to C8 1 to E7 and then F5 and C6. The other one can maybe go to B6 and C4.
At least in this closed structure, you have an idea of a couple of moves ahead already what to do.
Yeah, one dragon goes to E7. I can maybe castle, maybe play F6. Okay, I mean, probably white is better because of the space advantage. But I felt like at least, for my next few moves, it's not going to be too hard to know what I'm going to try to do.
Yeah.
And then when he played this B4 move, I got the C4 square for my knight, and somehow maybe he was trying to do too many things on the different sides of the board with G4. Then my knight got to H4. I got this F3, hitting the F3 pawn with tempo, and then after I take on B4, I think it's already hard for him. If he takes back with the knight, for example, I've got Rook A3. I thought it's very annoying.
Yeah, David pointed Rook A3 out as well. That was a nice idea.
Yeah. And then after Queen C2, this B3 move with the Dragon A5 check. It's just very strong.
Oh yeah, that was quite nice. Yeah, well spotted over there. It seems like you're getting more used to the dragon tactics, Henry. David, do you have any questions for the players?
Henry, I guess the answer is no, but did you ever think of closing the position completely with C4 and then castling queenside? Or was it not even something you would think about? After you played B4?
Yeah, it crossed my mind briefly, but it's not something I considered seriously.
Probably would have first developed a bit more, did what you wanted to do, and then considered it.
Yeah, I don't know. It makes it harder for me. I feel like because white has more space on the king side, and everything is going to happen on the king side, I feel like it will make it harder for me to play.
Okay.
Like, I mean, maybe I can
to try find somewhere that's safe for your king in this chess, and that gave the option of queenside castling. That's what I thought of it, but I think what you played is better. And I mean, I think ultimately that was Craig's problem. There was no place for his king to go. Once you played B4 and G4, you've burnt your bridges, and there can always be tactics.
Yeah. Okay, so a very exciting last game here, guys. A bit shorter maybe than we expected, but it's a lot of dragon tactics that happened, and a close position. We haven't seen too many close positions, I think. But well done to Henry, and tough luck to Craig. But Craig still ending in second position with 3.5 out of 6 points. Nobody can catch up to him. And in fact, he's only lost to Henry. So still a great performance. And congratulations, of course, to International Master Henry Steele for winning the event and being the Paradigm King. So well done, Henry. Of course, Henry scored 5.5 out of 6 in this event, only dropping a half a point to Watu. So it definitely seems like he's been practicing a bit or using the dragon bishops a bit better. So yeah, congrats, Henry. Well done, Craig, as well.
Thanks.
Cool. Thanks, Kevin.
Okay, so guys, there we have it. So we've got one match left. That will be between Watu and Daniel. So they will be fighting it out for third position. Both of them are on 1 point, but Daniel's got this tiebreak advantage of having scored a victory. Watu got 2 draws. So I think Watu's in a must-win situation as well for this last match. One more match to go, guys. We're going to take a short break, and then we will be back soon. Thanks again to David for joining us. David will also be with us for the last match. So thanks, everybody. Thanks to Craig and for Henry for the event. And yeah, we will see you guys pretty soon for the last game. Thanks, guys.
Cool.
Cheers.
Thanks. Cheers.